Hyperfixating on particular hobbies of mine is something I have always embraced with open arms, whether it be competitive Pokemon battling, making YouTube videos for fun, or playing niche games with friends. I give my 100% to all of my interests. However, there was always a game I was never able to give my 100% to, that being Wizard 101. Most of that was due to a strict upbringing, dedication to academics, and training year round for my sport. This is all extra verbal fluff to mask the fact that I was simply bad at the game. But now I'm an adult with more liberties to give this game a fair shake. And with the recent release of Wizard 101 on console devices, I found myself wanting to scratch that nostalgic itch of returning to one of my favorite games as a kid. For the past 10 years, I have dedicated most of my hobby time to playing competitive Draft League Pokemon, participating and winning in the community's most competitive team tours and leagues. However, in that time away from the game, I never truly forgot how soothing and therapeutic playing Wizard 101 was for me. And despite the game providing me with many enjoyable memories, I never actually reached max level or caught up to the current world in those 15 years of playing. I probably replayed the first half of Arc 1 over 10 times, and the furthest I've ever reached was the end of Azteca. Now Chrysalis at the time of making this video because I do enjoy the mindless monotony of spamming 2 blade spells in my Scarecrow while contently smiling. And side note, let's also acknowledge that I was completely incompetent with the game's mechanics, strategy components, and player stats, as would be most 9 or 10-year-olds if the only games they grew up playing were Pokemon and on the Wii. But hey, Skylanders and Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games were pretty sick games though. So I had slowly played this game sporadically over those 15 years, and now I wanted to see how much has changed since I first started in 2009 to the product that exists currently in 2025. So much has changed since 2009. It's actually mind-boggling how developed this game has become, but this is to be expected for a game running 17 years strong with consistent annual updates. There's almost too much that has been added to the game over the years that I don't even fully know what I don't know. However, there are some notable additions I am not too familiar with or never bothered exploring that add to the complexity of the game's player stats and overall gameplay. These include, but are not limited to, socketing, stitching, spell weaving, spellements, monstrology, shadow magic, arch mastery, pet breeding, gardening, cantrips, fishing, raids, and PvP. However, I think this was always a thing, I just never reached max level for it to be relevant to me. There has also been some quality of life and gaming experience changes I discovered regarding world aesthetic changes, making things overall prettier and cleaner, smaller quest fight quantities, so we only have to fight 2 or 3 mobs rather than 6 to 8, and questing mob drop rates seem to have changed as well. And I am looking at you, Zafaria. Small tangent about Zafaria and the trauma that this world has given me. I remember when I was 14 trying to do that world solo with my Myth Wizard because I had no friends who played this game. And they had quests where they would ask you to defeat like 12 freaking lions on some street. Then they turned around and asked you to fight them again, but collect like 8 items, which had a drop rate of what felt like under 1%. Add to the fact that my gear was terrible, my deck organization was garbage, I barely knew how to blade and trap, and I chose to use single attacks rather than use my Humongo Frog. And every street fight took around 30 minutes, every boss fight took over an hour. I could play occasionally on the weekends for like 2 hours at a time, only in the summer. It would take me a few months just to do a couple quests. But I enjoyed the grind, because I hate myself. Now it's starting to make sense why I never reached max level ever. But I am determined to finally achieve that dream of mine. I hope. And surely I'll be much better at combat now that I'm an adult with a developed brain. Alright, let's just load up the game and check out the abysmal display of wizards I have managed to produce over the past 15 years. Okay, they even changed the intro visual, what the heck? And the nostalgia's starting to hit me with the intro music, the look of the home screen. All of these memories are flooding back to me, and I kind of feel like a kid smiling in a candy shop right now. And when reaching the character selection screen, it felt like I had just dug up a time capsule from another era. I had a full roster of wizards that included 2 Myth Conjurers, a Storm Diviner, a Life Thurgist, a Balanced Sorcerer, and a Death Necromancer. One wizard was in Wizard City, two are in Mushu, one is in Dragonspire, one is in Avalon, and one is in Azteca. Now Chrysalis because, like I said, I got a little impatient. And when I went into each account, I found an interesting mixture of characters that sort of showcased my slow rise to learning various mechanics of the game, where some accounts were filled with crown items and terrible deck construction, while my Death Wizard had grinded dungeon gear, efficient decks, and overall good stats. A lot of it was bad, to be honest, but the Death Wizard sort of saves my image of being not totally incompetent. However, I am still rather ignorant to the new mechanics added to the game, refusing to research spell elements and weaving even after playing for a few hours on my Death Wizard, but I will eventually.
Which one? No, I don't know which one. Get them both. That man's an imposter. That man is the imposter.
Taking a look at my two Myth Wizards, they were more or less very similar. The Myth in Avalon is my very first wizard on this account, and the second only progressed as far as Mushu. I don't really know why I have two Myth Wizards, but it might have to do with me thinking my first Myth Wizard was unsavable with where it ended up gear and stat-wise, so I started over rather than fix it. Seems to be the running theme for how I played Wizard101. The decks seem to be heavy on combinations of life school spells and heals, and both single target and attack all spells. One of the decks even had polymorph spells in it, and as inexperienced as I am, I know those moon school spells are absolutely garbage, but they are a ton of fun to mess around with. Okay, but I have to bring this up. What is this deck? It's a completely filled deck. No wonder my fights lasted 30 minutes to an hour. It took me 5 turns just before I could pull a blade or a relevant spell without discarding a majority of my hand. I even did a fight in Avalon using this deck, and it was weird to play with such a hosh-posh of spells. There was no clear direction the deck wanted me to go, and I sort of just had to adapt to whatever the current hand spit out to me. One of the notable changes I found was to the level 7 myth spell Orthrus. This spell used to be an absolute pain to set up due to it hitting twice, with the first hit doing negligible damage followed up by the actual meat of the power. But now it appears it is a static 700 damage attack all spell, which seems like a major buff to the Myth School, which only had Humongo Frog at level 4 previously to hit all enemies. I also found the gear across the majority of my wizards utilize crown-based items and mounts. Growing up, I received those gift cards or house bundles as birthday or Christmas gifts, so I always had an excess of redeemable crown items, and based on the left sidebar, I still have copious amounts left to claim. Additionally, in that previously shown fight, my Myth Wizard was using life spells with School Mastery, all due to the Life Mastery Amulet, and with the introduction of School Weaving and Dual Casting, it seems like this item is now a relic of the past and a relic of the Crown Shot.
You remember lesson about balance?
Yeah.
Lesson not just karate only. Lesson for all life.
This one was pretty straightforward. I found this guy chilling in Triton Avenue with level 3 balance spells. Not much in terms of gear or stats to analyze since he was only level 10, but it did have a cute panther mount that I definitely sent through the shared bank. The panther mount used to be a common mount that came with gift cards. But yeah, outside of playing a pretty mundane fight against a rotting fodder, this character amounts to nothing more than a single day's worth of boredom. This wizard reminded me a lot of the Myth Wizard I have in Mushu. The deck was pretty full of spells ranging from every level, where the hands I received in fights were pretty inefficient and cluttered. I did one of the boss fights for my quest against this pig called Umegi, and I actually had a fair amount of difficulty setting up and healing. I almost lost the fight, and I feel rather embarrassed to even admit that, but if I did lose, I can definitely blame it on the deck being garbage, right? The mount on this account is also pretty nostalgic. The Angel Wings mount in general was very popular back in the day, and I of course had to get myself a pair. I remember my sister and I wanted to have a matching set, so I went with the dark wings, and she grabbed the white wings. At first, I was the only one using the wings, but she didn't want to be left out, and I think I did feel a little sorry for her, so I let her have one, because she was an ice wizard. She was already suffering enough.
You have healing abilities.
So this life wizard, I actually started with a couple of friends I convinced to play the game with me. It was going well for a couple months as we grinded through the game together, an experience I never got to have as a kid. I decided to go more of a support route, choosing life so I can be the healer of the group while also providing key traps like feint and also some balance blades. However, they got burned out playing and this character was left to rot for the rest of eternity. Guess you can say this life wizard eventually became a death wizard.
Stop it. Get some help.
Anyways, I did actually have two decks, one for pure support and one for solo boss fights I had to do for questing spells. I tried a solo fight in Grizzleheim with the boss fight deck, and it was again rather slow, but I did enjoy using healing spells I never got to use on any other characters. This is also the only character without crown gear, obviously except for the mount, so I was rocking whatever I bought from the bazaar. Also, they completely changed the bazaar's design. I enjoyed loading up the tens of pages of items looking for my next level robes and wands, all while being surrounded by the infecting lag of Wizard City noobs. I will say the new interface is probably more user-friendly than before, but it seems like less items are buyable than there used to be, which is a bit of a shame, because this means I can no longer farm reagents for my crafting quests. This is my most current wizard, and I found him initially sitting outside the final dungeon of Azteca, Xibalba. I decided to play with this character more off screen because I got a little impatient making this video. The gear is the only set that was farmed from a dungeon, the level 60 Waterworks. It has lasted me this far even at now level 100. And I am in completely unfamiliar territory nearing the end of Arc 2. Outside of the helm, robes, and boots, nothing else seems to be the most optimized, especially with the jewels socketed into the items. I think I just threw on whatever good jewels I had collected so far and called it a day. The wand itself is a crown item from a bundle gift card, so it's obviously going to be better than a lot of in-game wands. The scarecrow pet I have appears to be the only bred pet from the hatchery on this account, as it has a mixture of death school perks and healing talents like death trap and energizing battery. That healing talent has saved me numerous times from dying against cheating bosses, so I definitely appreciate the random pet I hatched with back in the day. The quests tab also seems to be very cluttered for a lot of my older characters, while my newer ones of Life and Death are far more organized and timely with quest organization and completion. Especially since I always do side quests, the quest tab can become very cluttered and ugly to navigate through. So I do appreciate the addition of the side column where we can hide quests not pertinent to the world, or simply show mainline quests only. It makes for a better overall experience for someone like me who obsesses over this stuff. Lastly, I have never been a person to care about decorating houses in Wizard101, but I do own a couple interesting homes. Outside of the classic dorm room and basic Wizard City cottage, I have a very grand Avalon-themed castle and a fantastical forest home. The walk from the World Gate to the Avalon Castle is actually really long, so I did not enjoy that, but it has some really cool castle interior designs and aesthetics to make up for it. I found a secret cellar through a mirror, the cornucopia on the dinner table gave me treasure cards and pet snacks, and I even found a hidden gazebo to fish at through a secret wall in the cliffside. The fairy forest home was also fun to explore. I didn't find a lot of secret locations outside of some river and a battle circle, but it did feel like a maze following the winding path through the giant vines and hedges, so that was a bit fun. I did have a full setup of crafting stations I used in the past, but again, no real decorative creativity was taken to spice up the place. I hope this revisiting of my 15-year-old account flooded you with nostalgia as much as it did me. I'm definitely going to continue playing again, but I want to give Arc 1 and 2 a fair shake with a new perspective. I admit that because I'm a offender of dialogue skipping, I don't really know what the story of Arc 2 is even about. Arc 1 is pretty easy to remember, It's about some dude doing crazy things to bring his wife back to life, so like Pop Off King. Even after playing a few hours in Chrysalis and the Jabalba dungeon, I don't know what Morgan's plan actually is, and why did that dude from Arc 1 suddenly come back? I mean, didn't he die and end up with his wife anyways at the end of Arc 1? What happened there? I guess that's for a future video. So I'm going to start a new wizard on brand for what I do at this point, and I've never used a fire or ice wizard before, so I am thinking of doing a full run with one of those two schools. Let me know in the comments which of the two you think I should choose and would be best for kind of a return to playing Wizard 101. As a reminder, I'm not a total beginner, and I do want to utilize all of the new mechanics added to the game, so whichever is best suited for that, I would like to take on that challenge together. I plan to document my journey with this new character and review the game in more detail as I go. I will also be doing this while trying out a new hobby of video editing at the same time. I like to try new things that interest me, so if you have any tips and feedback for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed my rambling, and feel free to subscribe to the channel to keep up with my casual content as I try to fall back in love with Wizard 101. Stay cozy.